Listen, the pain you've endured, the hurt you've carried, those moments when they cut you deeply and thought no one would notice, it didn't escape the eyes of God. You may have cried silent tears in the midnight hour, thinking no one saw, thinking no one cared, but I came to tell you God saw it all. He saw the betrayal, the manipulation, the lies they whispered behind closed doors. He saw how they smiled in your face and wounded you behind your back. And while you may feel like you're suffering in silence, don't you dare believe the lie that you're forgotten. You are not forgotten. You see, God operates in realms that man cannot comprehend. He is the God who searches the heart and examines the mind. He doesn't just see the surface, he sees the depths. The secrets they thought were hidden are already laid bare before him. The things they tried to cover up are exposed in his light. You serve a God who neither slumbers nor sleeps, a God who misses nothing. While people may plot in shadows, God is standing in the light, and he will not allow injustice to go unchecked. But here's the part you have to hold on to. Just because God sees it doesn't mean he reacts immediately. Sometimes it feels like the ones who hurt you are getting away with it, like God is silent in your suffering. But don't mistake his silence for indifference. God is strategic. He's calculated. He is not rushed by your timeline or pressured by your. He knows when to step in, when to expose, when to deliver. And let me tell you, when God moves, he doesn't just reveal the truth, he does it in a way that sets you free and leaves no doubt that his hand was at work. You see, what they did to you in secret was not just an attack against you, it was an attack against what God placed inside of you. The enemy isn't after your peace, he's after your purpose. He's not just trying to wound you, he's trying to stop the assignment on your life. But what they don't realize is that their secret attack only positioned you for a public victory. The more they tried to break you in private, the more God was preparing to bless you in the open. So let this settle in your spirit. God is not just a witness to your pain, he is an advocate for your healing. He is working behind the scenes even when it feels like nothing is happening. The very thing that hurt you will be the platform God uses to elevate you. You don't have to expose them, God will. You don't have to seek revenge, God will handle it. And when he does, it won't just be about exposing the wrong one, it will be about showcasing his glory in your life. Hold on, because God is about to make it all make sense. I want you to hear me today. God is your defender, not just your helper, not just your comforter, but your defender. When people rise against you in ways that seem unjust, when they attack your character, spread lies, or work in the shadows to harm you, know this: God is standing up for you. There's no enemy too powerful, no scheme too clever, no lie too deep that God can't handle it. He's got you covered. He's your protector and he's your warrior. The Bible tells us in Psalm 23 that God prepares a table before us in the presence of our enemies. Notice that he doesn't hide you away or move you to some quiet corner. No, he sets you up right in front of them. He puts you right in the middle of the very place where they tried to destroy you and says, I've got this. You just sit and eat. I'll take care of the rest. God doesn't just protect you from harm. He protects your peace in the middle of the storm. He allows you to feast in the midst of the battle. While they try to tear you down, he's building you up. While they are planning your downfall, he's preparing your promotion. Now listen, there's something powerful about knowing that God is your defender. When you know that God is on your side, when you understand that he's not just watching from a distance, but actively working on your behalf, something shifts in your spirit. It gives you confidence to walk through the valley of the shadow of death without fear. It gives you boldness to face your accusers and stand tall, knowing that they can't touch you because God has already marked you as his own. When the enemy comes in like a flood, God raises up a standard against him. That means that when everything is crashing down around you, God will raise something up that the enemy cannot overcome. The enemy may have power, but God has authority. The enemy may have tactics, but God has wisdom. The enemy may have a plan, but God has a purpose. And his purpose for you will stand, and he will make sure that the enemy has no power over you. There are moments when you want to fight back, when you want to set the record straight, when you want to correct every wrong, but God says, I've got this. He says, vengeance is mine, I will repay. He doesn't need your help to handle your enemies. He's got the perfect strategy. He's got the perfect timing. And when he defends you, when he fights on your behalf, there's no question about the victory. It won't be a fight that ends in a tie. It'll be a blowout. You don't have to defend yourself when God is your defender. You don't have to explain yourself when God is your defender. You don't have to justify your worth when God is your defender. His defense is more powerful than anything you can do on your own. Trust him to fight for you, because when he defends you, everything else must bow down. Let me tell you something that you need to remember today. What's done in the dark will always come to light. You might be going through something right now, and it feels like they've hidden their actions, their lies, their schemes so well that no one can see the truth. You might be sitting in a place where it seems like the people who've wronged you are getting away with it, that their dirty deeds are being swept under the rug, and they're walking around like nothing ever happened. But hear me, nothing stays hidden forever. Nothing stays in the dark forever. The truth has a way of rising up, and when it does, it will shine brighter than anything they ever tried to cover up. You don't have to worry about exposing them. You don't have to go digging for the truth. God is already working behind the scenes. What they thought was secret will be revealed in due time. And when it comes to light, it will come with a power that they never expected. God doesn't need you to do the work of exposing the lies. They will expose themselves when his light shines through. You see, God has a way of bringing justice that doesn't just benefit you, but it silences every accuser, every liar, every person who tried to tear you down. The truth may be delayed, but it will never be denied. It's like a seed planted in the ground. It may take time, but eventually it will break through the surface and bear fruit. Those who plotted against you in secret will have to face the consequences of their actions when God pulls back the curtain and reveals what was hidden in the shadows. This is why you don't have to fight back. This is why you don't have to try to make things right on your own. You're not in control of the outcome, but God is. And when he brings the truth to light, it won't just be for your sake, it will be for his glory. When the hidden things are revealed, it's not just to show who was right and who was wrong. It's to show the world that God is in control, that he knows the end from the beginning, that he can take a mess and turn it into a message, take a test and turn it into a testimony. Think about Joseph for a moment. He was sold into slavery by his brothers, lied on by Potiphar's wife, forgotten by the butler in prison. But what he couldn't see in the middle of his trial was that God was positioning him. What he couldn't see in the midst of all the hurt and betrayal was that God was working out a greater plan. And when the time came, the truth was exposed. Not just to vindicate Joseph, but to show that God's hand had been in it all along. You might feel like you're in the dark right now, like no one sees your struggle, your pain, or the ways you've been hurt. But let me tell you, God is the light, and his light will shine on your situation. Every lie, every betrayal, every secret thing that has been done against you will come to light in God's time. So stand firm, hold your head up high, and trust that God is already working to reveal the truth. It may seem like it's taking longer than you expected, but when the light shines, it will shine brighter than anything you could have imagined. I know that right now the temptation is strong to hold on to bitterness. It's hard when people hurt you, when they betrayed you, lied about you, used you, or turned their backs on you. The pain runs deep, and the emotions that rise up in your spirit want to strike back, to seek revenge, to make them feel what you felt. But let me tell you something, holding on to that anger will only keep you locked in a prison of your own making. You can't heal from a wound you won't let go of. And bitterness is a poison that will kill your joy, your peace, and your purpose. The key to your healing is forgiveness. I know it's not easy. I know you don't want to forgive them, especially when they've hurt you so badly. But forgiveness doesn't just free them, it frees you. It frees your heart from carrying the weight of the offense, from being chained to the past. When you forgive, you are no longer bound by their actions or their words. You let go of the control they've had over your peace, your happiness, and your future. Now, I'm not saying it's simple. I'm not saying it's easy. Forgiveness isn't about saying that what they did was okay or that you're excusing their behavior. Forgiveness is about releasing yourself from the burden of holding on to that pain. It's about trusting that God will deal with them in his time, and you're no longer responsible for making them pay. God is the ultimate judge, and he knows the depths of their heart. When you forgive, you're making the choice to let go and allow God to handle the justice. And here's the beauty of forgiveness. It's not just a one-time decision. It's a process. Sometimes it takes time to let go of the hurt, to fully release the offense. But each time you choose to forgive, you take another step toward freedom. You're not doing it for them, you're doing it for your own soul. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it changes your future. It allows you to move forward without dragging the weight of the past behind you. And don't think for a second that forgiving them means you're weak or that they've won. No, forgiving them is a sign of strength. It takes strength to let go of your right to be angry. It takes strength to trust God with the outcome. It takes strength to walk away from the bitterness that wants to control you. And when you let go of that bitterness, when you forgive from the heart, you open the door for God to work in your life in ways you never imagined. You see, healing comes when you make room for God to move. Holding on to unforgiveness doesn't just keep you trapped in the past. It blocks God's ability to work in your present and future. But when you choose to forgive, when you choose to let go, you make room for God to heal you, to restore you, to turn what was meant for your harm into something that will bring you strength and purpose. So let it go. Stop carrying the weight of bitterness. It's not worth it. God has so much more for you, and forgiveness is the key that will unlock the door to your healing. You don't have to fight for justice. You don't have to defend yourself. When you forgive, you release it to God, and he will take care of the rest. And in the process, He will heal you, restore you, and make you stronger than you ever were before. Let me tell you something that I know you need to hear today. God's exposure doesn't just bring justice, it brings redemption. When God steps in and reveals what was hidden, when he pulls back the veil on what was done in the dark, it's not just to show the wrong, no. It's to set you up for something greater. What the enemy meant for evil, God will turn around for your good. The exposure isn't just about the truth coming to light, it's about God taking what was meant to harm you and using it to fulfill his purpose for your life. You may not be able to see it now, but when God exposes the truth, he's doing more than just clearing your name. He's clearing the path for you. He's making space for you to walk into the destiny that has always been waiting for you. The enemy may have tried to delay it, tried to sabotage it, but when God's hand is on your life, nothing can stop his plan. What the enemy thought would bury you, God will use to elevate you. The process of exposure isn't always comfortable. It may not feel good when the truth comes to the surface, when the lies are uncovered, when the secret things are revealed. But God doesn't expose the wrong just to cause embarrassment or shame. No, he exposes it so that he can heal it. He reveals the hurt, the betrayal, the injustice, not to humiliate you, but to free you from it. He exposes the wounds so that he can bind them up, so he can make you whole. The truth, when revealed by God, brings light to the dark places in your heart that need healing, and it opens up the space for restoration. I know it can be hard to trust this process, especially when you're in the middle of it. It's easy to feel like you've been left exposed without purpose, but God is never random in what he does. He's not pulling back the curtain just to leave you hanging. He is setting the stage for your redemption, just like he did with Joseph. He will take you from the pit to the palace. You may have been thrown into a pit of betrayal and deceit, but God will use that same pit to bring you to a place of honor. He will use the exposure of the lie to shine a light on the truth of who you really are in him. And when the exposure happens, it's not just about clearing your name. It's about showing the world that God is on your side. It's about showing that he is the one who vindicates you, not your own strength, not your own words, but his mighty hand at work. When God exposes what's been hidden, it's not just to put the spotlight on the wrongdoer. It's to put the spotlight on his faithfulness. It's to show that he is faithful to protect, to restore, and to bring his people into the fullness of their purpose. So I need you to understand this. Exposure isn't the end, it's just the beginning. It's the start of a new chapter in your life. A chapter where God takes what was meant to harm you and uses it for his glory. When God exposes, he doesn't leave you out there alone. He is with you every step of the way, turning your pain into power, your brokenness into beauty. And when it's all said and done, you'll see that the exposure didn't just bring justice. It brought you closer to the fullness of the destiny God has ordained for you. I know that waiting can be one of the hardest parts of any journey. It's frustrating. It feels like you've been standing still, watching others move forward while you feel stuck. You've been praying, seeking God, believing for breakthrough, and yet nothing seems to be happening. It's like you're in a holding pattern. But I want to remind you today that God's timing is perfect. When God moves, he moves with purpose. Man, the delay you're feeling right now is not a denial, it's preparation. God is never in a rush. He doesn't operate on the timetable we try to impose on him. His ways are higher than our ways, and his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. While you're anxiously waiting for something to change, God is doing something in the background. He's orchestrating events, lining things up in your favor, shifting people and moving pieces into place. Every second you feel like you're waiting is a moment God is using to position you for something greater. Trust that the delay is not in vain. Sometimes God allows things to unfold slowly because he knows the greater the wait, the greater the reward. If he gave you everything you wanted right now, you might not be ready for it. Sometimes you need time to grow, to mature, to build the character necessary to sustain the blessing that's coming your way. It's like preparing for a banquet. You wouldn't just throw a feast together at the last minute. You'd plan, you'd make sure everything is just right. And in the same way, God is making sure that everything is set up perfectly for you to step into your next season. You might not see it now, but everything you're waiting on is being aligned with God's will. He's working behind the scenes. And the longer you wait, the more it becomes evident that God's plan is far better than your own. We want what we want when we want it, but God is teaching us the power of trust and patience. He's teaching us that we don't have to understand everything. We just need to trust that he knows what he's doing. It's easy to lose heart when it feels like nothing is changing. Remember, God's silence doesn't mean he's absent. He's still working. He's still moving. He's still in control. What you see as delay is God's way of setting the stage for something bigger, something that will blow your mind. You can't rush God's timing. He knows what's best for you. And when he opens the door, no man can shut it. So while you wait, let your faith grow. Let your trust in God deepen. Understand that the delay is only making the promise sweeter. And when it arrives, it will be everything God has promised and more. Don't rush the process. Trust that God's timing will reveal what he's been preparing for you all along. In the end, you will see that it was all worth the wait. His timing will always prove to be perfect.